man, I have one of my favorite companies here, and even I just heard one of my wife's favorite company executives here, Steve Schulz, CEO, president, co-founder of Nékter, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
You're not mistaken. That's
all right. Sometimes
correct.
I give too many titles to too many people, and I try to do it off the top of my head. Welcome to SoFi Stadium, and welcome to the Playbook.
Hey,